All right, so last time we left off with y'all in the Harry Troll Inn. Y'all met Heinrich. You got rooms situated. Um, I handed out experience, all that jazz. And as a party, you decided that y'all were going to go try and figure out the mystery of this stag who's apparently murdering people that are too stupid to know that they shouldn't be chasing it. And I need to message Mike, our new player, some info real quick, and then we will be all set to get started. But if anyone wants to go ahead and go through and start role playing or discussing various things or working on what y'all's plans are, it is the next day. Also, since it's a new session, all of your fortune points have been revitalized.
Alright, Verstadt will come down the stairs and take a seat down at one of the tables of the inn.
Is this morning?
It's morning. Yeah, we're
Okay,
just gonna
okay.
skip through night. Also, Aztec, you wake up with no fatigue condition.
Alright, I will... Are we recording all this too?
Yep.
And everything?
It's already
Okay,
recording, but I mean,
okay, cool.
I can edit shit out if need be. It doesn't matter.
Okay, never mind. Yeah, I will also join Verstadt at the table.
Sorry about that.
You can hear me snoring loudly from my room. You people are waking up early.
I scratched my shoulder a bit, just in case there were some bed bugs. But I slept, yeah, I slept fine. How about you, wrist?
I am not wrist.
I'm sorry, I thought wrist was sitting next to me.
No, Verve is.
Hello, Verve. How was the morning
No,
treating you?
Wrist is snoring in bed.
Okay, that's my bad.
Though it's loud enough, you may have thought he was next to you.
Oh, that's what Ben said. Okay, my bad.
I will say, any midnight intruders.
Well, I mean, the thing about vermin is they don't usually announce themselves. I will check my body. Do I see any marks?
Probably not.
Probably not. Okay. So I say, well, it looks like I'm okay.
Basically, I will order a morning meal if the innkeep is up, or maybe it's dead in here. I don't know. Maybe it's just the two of us.
Heinrich has not appeared yet.
Okay, then we are just sitting, having a conversation.
Oh shit, I have to remember what my exit for Heinrich was. I'll be trying to mentally figure that out while y'all do whatever you're doing.
I can't remember where we are supposed to go start to look for this creature.
The hunting lodge would probably be the best place to start.
Roger.
But neither of you have been there before. Only Wrist has. And he is asleep.
Okay, I don't think I've even heard of it.
Probably not, because I think Wrist discovered that whole thing on his own.
Yeah, pretty much.
So Verstadt will say... One second, hold on.
How many fatigue conditions do you have?
Alright, I'm back. Sorry. None right now that I woke up with because I got rid of.
Yeah, you had a full
the,
night of sleep, so they're all gone.
Yeah. So Versat will say, so where do we go about finding these nobles who are going to be hunting this stag? I suppose we're supposed to be one of them today.
I will look at you and kind of raise an eyebrow and say, you would probably have better knowledge on where to look for that than I.
To be honest, I'm no noble's son. Maybe Rist knows. He gets lots of personal acquaintances with how good he is with food. Should we wake up Rist?
Around this point, you hear some light bangings and followed by some soft swearing, and hold on a second. Was there?
I was gonna say you could go and listen to like your last episode and.
No, it's fine. Roland, there's no specific numbers because technically it would be sort of in the way of cheating, so no one's handed out official information on that. But it would be depending on the noble. Some are more desperate than others for various political or personal reasons to want to be the one that gets the kill or gets the glory in this situation. So if you went to the right people, it could end up anywhere from 20 to maybe even like 100, like gold.
Certainly an amazing opportunity.
Yeah. And let me get your character attached to his sheet real quick.
By the way, I am the new player, Mike, and I am going to be playing Roland Langman. And you're going to see him in however much time it takes.
Alright, you should have control over your token now.
I mean, you can definitely go wake up Master Wrist. I would be aware of perhaps a hidden saucepan to the face.
Right, well, with all this desanguination, or whatever the doctor called it, I'm not too afraid of a saucepan.
Now I remember.
And I go upstairs to wake up Wrist.
Okay, now try.
There it is.
Verdstat, when you knock on the door, the snoring stops briefly before coming again even louder.
I will attempt to knock one more time.
Verv, you see Heinrich come out of his personal chambers a little ways, but there are two doors behind the bar on either side, and he comes out of one of them yawning.
Wrist continues to snore with a little cough and a hiccup, but will loudly snore. The door might be wiggling back and forth because it's not really locked.
All right, Verstat will knock one more time and say, Wrist, Master Wrist, I'm coming in, and will slowly enter the room.
He's dead!
As
No,
you
go ahead.
enter, Wrist is frantically moving to act like he's sleeping. It looks like he was huddled under the blankets, making loud snoring noises, and now that you're entering, is positioning himself to look like he's been asleep the whole time. I'm not even going to roll stealth because he always fails stealth.
Hello, Wrist. What are you doing?
Oh, what is it? I will blink at you.
Right, I am sorry for waking you, but I think Verve and I require your presence downstairs.
Oh, are you sure? Didn't you have a big stag to go off and slay?
You don't have any interest in helping us?
Did I mention it killed 8 men?
No halflings, though.
Oh yes, it probably gobbled them up in between, jabbing the hunters with their big weapons.
Let's just...
I will give Verdstat a look before begrudgingly getting out of bed. and dragging my feet downstairs.
Thank you, Wrist.
I will call over to Heinrich and say, it is rare to see an innkeep up after his customers.
He laughs audibly at this. He says, "Oh, well, I could get breakfast ready for you if that's what you're concerned about. But haven't had many guests here, and I guess I've gotten out of the habit."
I will nod, and as I hear perhaps creaking on the floorboards, I will say, perhaps a set for all of us.
He nods and he vaguely gestures at you with a spoon and says, "Do you eat meat?" Don't want to presume.
I'm pretty sure elves eat meat.
Most of
So,
them do.
yes. I will nod.
He nods and he heads into the other door that his room is not in, which you see a fairly humble but functioning kitchen beyond, and he starts humming to himself in some tuneless song as the door closes behind him.
I swear. The difficulties of having friends who can incinerate buildings when they're upset, and Wrist will hop onto a bench next to Verve. Are you really sure you want to go after that big heap of a stag?
Well, it's money, right?
Verstappen will
If you
pull the chair.
live to, get it.
I will look at Wrist and say, well, considering what we have done thus far, do you still consider that the same?
You mean watching Raymond's horse get eaten by that big bear?
Yeah. That, and fighting beastmen, and fighting goblins.
Yeah, but none of them single-handedly murdered 8 people.
That could be a rumor. Are you sure about it?
Well, most of them walked back and died on the doorstep, so yeah.
Oh,
I'm pretty sure they can get a count. But alright, fine, I know you're in money trouble. I will look at Verdstedt. Somehow.
Verstappen will say, I'm actually doing okay for the moment, and will pat his coin pouch.
Just
But
think
you
of
all
what
want
you
to go after it.
just think of what you could cook up with such a prized meal, or a prized catch.
As if they'd let me at a flank. If you want to go on after, we're probably going to have to team up with some hoity-toity noble. And they're not likely to share at all. Except maybe some coin.
Maybe we double dip this scenario. We hunt the stag, they pay us, and then you cook the stag and they pay you.
Sorry, did you just suggest we go and hunt it alone? The 3 of us?
Not alone. I'm sure there's a hunting party, but we do the important stuff so we can claim the reward.
Yeah, I'll look to Verve. You mind being known about that you're one of the Fey folk of the woody place?
Not particularly.
Because, I mean, that would be a great in for a job. I bet there'd be a right bunch of fops flopping around wanting someone like you scouting out where the beastie is.
After the reception I got here.
Around this point, Heinrich walks out, and the odor that comes from the kitchen is quite pleasant. And he comes out with a interesting assortment of meals, mostly like some cooked sausages. He's got some scallops from potatoes that he had and various other little small greens on there, and he puts out a plate for each of you, freshly made, and he puts his hands on his hips and says, "Now that is the kind of food you won't find at any of the other troll inns.
You mean like the one with the giant pickle jar?
Especially the one with the giant pickle jar. You stayed at the Pickled Inn."
Oh, no, we briefly walked in and then walked out after she named prices.
Ah, smart lad then.
Ah, that's right. Plus, someone else was forking over the money anyways. I will attempt to taste this food and decide if it is worthwhile.
Before I taste it, I will say, this looks delicious, Heinrich. Thank you.
He nods and says, "Anything to drink, lads? Water? Beer?"
Oh, whatever you got that's palatable.
Verstat will say, is the water free?
He nods and says, "Relatively. I do charge a penny to boil it if you don't want to risk anything."
I will nod and hand over
I'm
a
doing
penny.
fine money-wise.
I will
Can I
also
get
hand
free
over
water?
a penny. How much is the breakfast as well?
He charges 2 pennies for meal.
Okay, I will hand over 3.
Yeah, so 3.
Okay.
I will hand over 3.
All right. He goes in the back. He comes out a little bit later when the water's cooled down so that it's not just basically tasteless tea, and sets it in front of you. And then he drags a stool up to the front side of the bar and sits on it. "Any plans today? Are you just gonna loiter around here a bit?"
It sounds like they want to head over to the lodge and see about that hunt that's going on.
He nods and says, "Right dangerous work that could be. Y'all be careful out there."
I'll be sure to stick next to them. I'll be safe. Hopefully.
Heinrich chuckles and pats you on the shoulder and says, "I'm sure you'll be fine. You look like you can handle yourselves."
Yes, it's the
See?
giant stag I'm worried about.
I think it's some far-fetched rumor. Exaggerated to the utmost to draw the most... Is there betting at this?
He leans back against his stool and says, "Officially, no. But I would not be surprised if there's some backdoor money changing hands between prideful individuals."
See, there you go, Rist. An extra in for you. As long as you choose the right, crew, of course.
Yeah, just that. Amidst all the nobles going out for it. Plus, the bookies probably aren't going to let you bet on the stag.
Verstat will laugh at that.
He stands up and stretches and says, "Well, if it's the same to you lot, I think I'm going to go back to bed. Just holler if you need anything."
Of course, Heinrich. Thank you again.
Right, have a good night.
I will eat and get up and say, "Okay, Rist, where do we go?"
Lead the way.
Well, let's head towards the lodge and see if we can find anyone along the way who may be better than... who could help us stay out of trouble. My last attempt there didn't go so well. There's some peculiar folk there who don't particularly like halflings. Don't know why. We're such fine folk.
All right. Y'all start making your way towards the lodge. It's fairly early in the morning. Like, the sun's welling up, but For the most part, the town of Jettenberg is still slowly getting on its way up. There's already quite a bit of activity going on across the river. The little tributary that comes out of the Hager Cribs that runs through town to the wider river that goes on to join the River Reich. There's a fair amount of hustle and bustle already getting started in those parts of the town, but for the most part, it's pretty quiet. But as you start making your way towards the hunting grounds, you do notice that the closer you get to it, the more activity seems to be picking up. And when you actually get to the edge of town and move past the wall that surrounds Jettenberg and leads out to the proper hunting grounds area, you see that the lodge is bustling with people running around, and you see there's a lot of fancy-looking individuals, some carrying guns, some carrying bows. There are banners flying in front of various tents and wagons moving everywhere, and there looks to be a lot of the lower social classes being yelled at, carrying around various bags or boxes and tripping and it's a madhouse. There's hunting dogs barking at each other. Occasionally one will get loose and snap at somebody, and it's just a mess.
Oh, fun. Can't you imagine traipsing through the woods like with this following behind you, Verve?
And I will roll my eyes. These people do not know quite how to sneak up on anything, do they?
Oh, well, I'd bet there's some smart lads just standing over by the base of those mountains over yonder, and they'll wait for this lot to scare it all the way up to the hill.
I will say though, Verve, this is a lot of ruckus for just a rumor.
As y'all kind of stand outside of it, unless you're wanting to just dive face first into the cacophony of insanity, the three of you do have kind of a sense of someone staring a little, almost too intently at you, and you do see a man among the masses who seems to have set his eyes upon your little trio. And Roland, feel free to describe yourself.
Oh hell, I don't even remember what I look like.
It's okay. I can bullshit my way through the three of you, but of course you can always just kind of zoom in and look at each other's tokens. That actually also works.
Yeah, it's also true.
You do have such lovely tokens, custom made. Thanks, Voice of Treason, wherever you may be.
Thank you.
Mike, you there?
Yep, I'm just looking at the character and thinking of a proper way to describe him.
Okay, it doesn't need to be super crazy specific or anything. I just like to give everyone I just like to throw people under the bus for the descriptions.
Is he easy to spot?
I might be one of the tallest people there.
He's kind of a string bean.
At a towering 6'5", rather muscled as you can see in the arms, wearing a leather vest, and if you look closely you can see some chain under it, especially around the neck. In fact, some of his clothing kind of looks reminiscent of a Reichland soldier, somewhat close, but in many ways also roughed up and just generally off looking.
And yes, he does stand out. He is notably taller than anybody else. That being said, he does not seem to be noticed at all by the people who are busy with their own garbage.
I will nudge Verstat and say we are being watched by that giant of a man.
Which one?
They're all the same.
Verstat will whisper, "This is not the guy from the Order, is it?"
Not that I believe, no.
The cloaked individuals y'all were approached by last session, none of them were this tall.
None of them probably wore this garish of clothing either.
Well, they might have been, but they were keeping their identities quite secretive.
Obviously and openly garish, then.
Well, Wrist, do your thing.
I will turn to the person looking at us and smile and wave. Oh, how are you doing there, you big you are tall, aren't you? I will walk over towards the tall man. You're mostly nostril from down here, but
Wrist.
it's nice to meet you.
Roll a dodge check. All right, as you are mid-sentence, you manage to just step aside as one of the people carrying some massive amount of ammunition behind the person talking to them, rambling, carrying some oversized gun, falls and nearly drops everything they have on top of you, which would have hurt considerably, but you just managed to avoid getting crushed. There are a lot of people moving about out here.
Is there a huge commotion as he drops all this expensive equipment?
Well, he drops it and gasps audibly and does not look super great, and the guy who's talking turns around and just starts furiously berating him. He doesn't seem to notice you, though.
I will make sure I get up alongside Wrist.
Me as well. I'll take up the other side.
I'm going to spend a fortune point to succeed, to get one more success level. So I would succeed on a sleight of hand check to pick up some of that dropped equipment. As I yell at him for being a daft oaf, dropping things all the time.
Ooh. No, you don't, though. What'd you get? You only got one success level?
Yeah.
The man who dropped it, his, even though he's almost in tears being yelled at, when you reach down and wrap your, small thieving hands around one of the little packages of munitions, his hand shoots out lightning fast and grabs your wrist very roughly.
Good! You could have broken this! This is kit equipment! And I will shake my other hand and point at the bag. Are you really letting someone like him carry this stuff around? And I will talk to my better who is berating the person carrying this stuff.
Okay, so you're not letting go of what you're holding?
I'll let go once he has his hands on it.
Okay. Yeah. So you let go, but the noble does scowl down at him and say, I swear, the instant we get back to our tent, I'm going to... And he kind of notices more and more people are starting to look at him just because it's kind of like an overextended situation at this point, and his face turns red, but his mustache is almost quivering in anger, and he just grumbles for the man to hurry up and pick everything up. You get kind of a nasty look from his servant, but he doesn't say anything and starts to gather everything up.
I will turn to the big man. Did you see that with eyes like those? How could he have not missed me when he was dropping all that stuff? I swear, the prejudice halflings get.
He turns to you and goes, just so, I assure you, good sir, that he will be thoroughly reprimanded.
Have a fine day and good luck.